Welcome back to Beyond the Blueprint, powered by Lapolis Electric. I'm your host, Stephen Marcellino, Vice President of Sales with Lapolis Electric, and I'm here today with a good friend and industry associate, Kris Willard. Christopher is the Director of Sales with INF Associates, and I'm very happy to have him today. He has a great message, a lot of great experience, and he's very knowledgeable in the EV and energy efficiency sustainability sector of the electrical construction industry. So, Christopher, why don't you talk a little bit about yourself and INF and what you guys do in the industry and give us some insight on your background.
Yeah, sure. Happy to be here. Thanks for having us, guys. This is fun to be joining part and being to support you guys all in this journey and being in the early days of launching your podcast. So thanks for having me, and
thank you.
Wish you a lot of success in this endeavor. Hope it goes well, and
thank you very much.
Can't wait to hear and see the growth that you guys have. But
exciting.
INF. I've been at INF a little over 3 years. We're a company that was started by our CEO, Charlie Deputo. He started back in 2009 as a LED lighting retrofit company. About 5 years ago, so he transitioned. He's one of those early people that had the foresight to see that EV charging was going to be the next big wave for energy efficiencies. For many years, the LED lighting was the big success of INF, and that was where he kind of made his bread and butter. Got into EV charging. That was when I was brought onto the team, and now I'd say about 80% of our business is installing electric vehicle chargers.
That's a great catch, especially when Charlie caught on to it, because of course I know Charlie's great business associate and friend to Lapolis Electric, and that's a great catch on his end to recognize where the whole energy efficiency and sustainability world was going when he did, because now it's everywhere. I mean, politicians are speaking about it. Local municipalities are speaking about it. There is utility incentives. I mean, the whole nine, the list goes on. And the fact that you guys are in the fold on that from the beginning, I'm sure it puts you on top of industry from, the area of the sector that you cover.
Yeah, absolutely. Our core business is decarbonization of transportation and decarbonization of buildings, and really helping our clients with energy efficient projects that's going to help reduce energy consumption and ultimately satisfy their ESG goals, their carbon emission goals, and whatnot. The thing that Charlie did when he started the company that really made INF sort of niche to this industry was he realized that there was a huge gap between incentives and rebates that were available out there from utilities and states to help reduce and offset the project costs for these energy efficient models. And what he realized is nobody was helping clients capture this funding or even helping clients identify that it existed. So he started the business with the whole intention of, I'm going to do LED lighting, but I'm going to tell my clients, hey, all this funding's out there and I'm going to help you capture it so that you never have to come out of pocket to pay for these projects. And there truly is a lot of funding out there. EV charging is just one portion of our business. It's a big portion of our business. But on the other side of it, we're also looking at all sorts of other building and mechanical, engineering projects that we help do as well. LED lighting is still a big aspect of that as well. Yeah. So it's really that was the foundation of INF, was the engineering and the rebate administration aspect to help implement these measures that are now so much the core focus of everyone in New York State and really around the world of trying to achieve net zero carbon emission.
Yeah, very interesting. And I know you and I have worked on a couple projects together, on the scope development and bid phase, and I know you guys work very, very closely with Paul Lapolis, who runs our energy efficiency division at Lapolis Electric. Can you give us a little bit of insight on, what types of chargers are out there, how they operate, the speed that you can charge a car in, and maybe a little comparison of when you guys first started dealing with EV to current date? Is the technology getting better? Is it stagnating? Give us a little bit of an idea on how that's going and trending in the industry.
Yeah, sure. So, I'll take it sort of at basic level, right? The different types of chargers in the industry that you have are, there's level 1, level 2, level 3 chargers. The level 1 are essentially an outlet, a 110-volt outlet you would get at your home. It's like a fancy extension cord, basically. The level 2,
An expensive extension cord.
yeah, an expensive extension cord. The level 2 chargers are more like a hookup, a 240-volt hookup, like a washer dryer would have at your home, and this gives you more of a quicker charge. Still takes anywhere from 4 to 8 hours to completely charge your vehicle, but it's faster than a level 1, which could take 36 to 48 hours.
And for somebody that may be installing, and I know there's a couple more tiers, not to cut you off, but for somebody that may be installing a car charger in their home, what does this do to their electrical bill? Like how does this affect their overall utility spend in comparison to just putting gas in their car?
Yeah, it's a great question, and maybe let me summarize the chargers piece first, and then we can get into that, because that's really something that we pride ourselves at INF on, being experts at with helping our clients. So the last charger is the level 3 chargers, or the DC, direct current fast charger, DCFCs. These are the ones that are high speed, the superchargers, the Tesla chargers that you see, where you can charge your vehicle in 20, 30 minutes. So those much higher power, 480 volt, 3-phase power, a lot more energy. So going back to your question about how does this affect your energy bill, a charger that's pulling 480 volt power and charging your vehicle in 20 minutes is going to do a lot more damage to your utility bill than something that's slowly trickle charging at 110 volts. Sure. Mostly purely because of these things called demand charges, which us in the electrical industry, we know these, we're familiar with these, but a lot of our clients do not. No. So I always laugh. I think it's because we're all Americans. We always say, bigger, faster is better. Yeah, it could be, but a lot of people don't like to talk about the downstream day 2 reality of a demand charge and peak pricing and what happens to your utility bill. You get this high-powered charger at your property, and you're excited. You have this shiny, fancy new toy, and then you get your utility bill from Con Edison, and it's $20,000. Not so happy anymore.
And it's not even just the utility charge side. It's when we go and walk these projects from like a scope development phase, a lot of people don't even have the power requirements necessary in their infrastructure to install a fast charger. So now you're looking at it from this angle. Yeah, it's great. I can charge my Tesla or, whatever in 30 minutes. But now, you have to look at the fact, all right, we need to upgrade the electrical infrastructure. We might need to bring in another switchboard or a bucket switch into a switchboard to, increase the amperage that we're putting out. And, or can we even supply 480 volt? So these are a couple things that if, you are looking to bring in these car chargers and different, I guess, energy efficient products, is you have to look at your current infrastructure. Do you have the capable power to send the right amps and volts to these chargers? And is the infrastructure being properly maintained to support these improvements of sending, these car chargers out there into the field? Because if you have a poorly maintained electrical infrastructure, and you start to put a whole different type of demand on that infrastructure, you could run into problems down the road from a overall maintenance standpoint. Now you're calling in emergency service calls and things of that nature, and that's where the importance of, overall electrical preventative maintenance comes into play as well. The infrared testing, having a preventative maintenance program in place, torque lubricating and cleaning of the switches and transformers every 3 to 5 years, and running those kind of maintenance protocols to make sure the infrastructure is in good condition.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you hit on something that when our team looks at a site, we try to put what's best for the client at front of mind, right? And going back to sort of just the energy downstream day 2 effects. A lot of times clients, and everyone in the construction business and what we do every day, everyone's looking for the cheapest price or multiple bids and trying to figure out, which contractor they're going to go with, which design firm they're going to work with. So our approach to it is not necessarily going to always be the one that is the lowest on the bottom line, but keeping in mind thinking, how are we going to design this and install the infrastructure so that the client can have their chargers on an isolated utility meter if necessary. When you're putting that much power onto either the building load connected, or you're putting that much power just into the garage. You want to be careful about how you design this because of these things that can happen to the utility bill, right? Like you don't want to add 1200 amps of
Correct.
electric vehicle chargers to your building load, and then all of a sudden you're getting these crazy insane utility bills
Yeah,
every month.
and that's a good point on the I guess the financial side. If you do provide an isolated monitor, you can actually track against what they spent on the actual charger and the install and the utility bill and what they're charging people to charge, and they can track their ROI on putting these chargers in.
And oftentimes it helps them even qualify for incentives, rebates, better utility rates, utility peak shaving incentive programs, all these other things that are out there to help support reduce those energy costs downstream, that if they just maybe went with the an electrical contractor or engineer firm that designed it the easiest, cheapest way possible, using an existing panel, maybe they're not even eligible for these things. So, when we approach it, our team, we really look at those considerations. We try to pride ourselves on not just installing electric vehicle chargers, but selling, not chargers, but selling charging, right? Because it's not just how do you get a charger installed? It's helping the end user, the site host, understand what charging actually means and how to do it and manage and maintain it, like you were saying.
Very nice.
Yeah.
With all these chargers and all the work that goes into getting them installed, I'm going to shift the conversation a little bit to something I had mentioned before. What are you doing and what are we doing together as a team? Because that's really how I see INF and Lapolis. What are we doing to make sure that these chargers last and the longevity of their lifespan is intact in terms of an overall maintenance approach? Because it's very important for people to know that we don't only come in and install these things, we can actually maintain them and upkeep them so they live through the future.
Yeah, that's right. One of the questions that a lot of people have from the get-go is, what's the lifespan of these chargers, right? And you can tell them, 5 years, 10 years, but who really knows? Because no one's ever installed chargers before. It's never been done.
Yep.
Right. Like no one. Like this is a complete. We're laying railroad tracks essentially.
It's like trying to understand the long-term effects of smoking a Juul vape or something like that.
Yeah, they've never existed before.
There's no tangible data that's been trended to know, what's the lifespan, how long do they last, are they actually efficient?
Exactly.
There really is no tangible data.
Yeah, so it's kind of just like a lick of the finger, in the air.
The air's blowing west today.
Yeah, but we have preventative maintenance programs in place to help, just like you would any typical, mechanical equipment or electrical equipment. Preventative maintenance, is going to help with longevity, just like you would with your body, right? Like you don't go to the gym, like you're probably not going to be in the best physical shape as you get older, right? You want to do the same thing with your charging equipment, with your electrical infrastructure. It's no different than eating healthy, right? You put good things into it, you're gonna have better longevity.
100%, and that's on both sides too. Like you say, it's multiple aspects of in comparison to the body. It's eating healthy, it's going to the gym, it's reading books, being a good person, and putting all the healthy traits of a human being, I guess, out into the world and taking in a healthy lifestyle. It's pretty comparable to the EV and the electrical infrastructure it's attached to. If you maintain just the charger, great, that's good for the charger. But if you neglect the power source that's powering these chargers, at some point, it's the problems are going to spread, and you might see an effect to the charger from a different standpoint in the infrastructure. So I think all around it's important to perform the preventative maintenance not only on the charger, but the actual electrical infrastructure that's powering it. So the whole system. It's like a car. If you get the oil changed once every 15,000 miles and the engine seizes up, you got to look at yourself. You're changing your oil, once every couple of years or whatever it is, and eventually you're gonna have problems. Or you change your oil, but you neglect the rest of the car, and you're like, oh well, I changed my oil. Why are my tires popping? It's like, all right, well, you haven't changed your tires in 50,000 miles. That's why they're popping.
You're absolutely right. Like you bring such a holistic approach to this. It's not just one piece. It's everything from the electrical source, from the utility meter point of entry to all the way to the charger. And I'll take it even further. Another thing we're doing is a charging success program where we actually help our clients manage the charging software. The intangible, the things you don't see physically in the garage or parking lot.
So you guys will be like behind the scenes tech support almost.
Helping them identify utilization, understanding their peak demand periods, helping them peak shave to avoid these larger utility costs. Again, it's not just a charger, it's selling them charging. It's making sure that the whole property is set up from start to finish, from the installation, all the electrical gear that you're describing and maintaining, the charger itself, maintaining it, but also maintaining the charging system. And making sure that they're using it the right way. These property managers, property owners, they're not in the charging business.
No.
They don't want to be out there monitoring their utilization and when's the peak energy period for the day, and should I be thinking about reducing the output of my charger between 12 and 4 p.m. on August 7th because it's 87 degrees outside, or 107 degrees outside rather. They're not doing these things.
And that's a major thing to keep in mind, when introducing this new technology to these properties, because that's really what it is. It's new tech. You're a professional in it. Paul Apolis is a professional in it. I know a thing or two about car charging, and between us and our companies, we know that we're spending hours of doing research and living on these projects and developing these scopes that these property managers and homeowners and facility managers are not. They're dealing with a million other things throughout the day on top of the overall MEPs of their facilities 9 times out of 10. So how do you introduce this new tech that there is limited information about and expect these people to understand how to manage it? It's almost unrealistic, and a problem may occur if a professional like yourself and INF is not managing that day-to-day interaction with the car charger and like load shedding peak and all these different things that people just aren't thinking of because they're not thinking of it, and it's important that professionals like yourselves are putting programs out there to assist these FMs and property managers in doing so. And that kind of goes on to a question I really wanted to ask you. Because everything you just discussed was very focused on, aside from your knowledge of the EV and that whole energy efficiency and sustainability world, which is excellent, it's very focused on customer service. And I think customer service is one of the most important attributes that we can have in our industry. And, that kind of segues, I want to ask you, what does hospitality mean to you in business? I know you come from a world before this where hospitality was your, every breathing moment of your career being in the food and beverage industry.
Yeah, that's right.
Prior to coming into this side of the business. And if you want to tell us a little bit about your prior experience of industry to kind of shine some light on your skill with hospitality, because hospitality is a skill. It's a trait that you're born with in my eyes. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. No, I think it's a great question. And hospitality to me is something that goes beyond this industry. It spans across so many industries. And really it's just a form of life. You're right. It's like something you're born with. It's something that's ingrained in you. It can be taught. It can come from your family and whatnot. It's definitely something that was honed into me through like my career. So you're hinting at it because a little bit, but I came from the hospitality industry prior to moving into this EV world, this electrical world that we now all live in. So before COVID, I had 15 years of hospitality, working in high-end restaurants in New York City, Manhattan, 3 Michelin star restaurants where I was working on the dining room side. And my last job before COVID was I was a general manager of a fine dining restaurant that unfortunately no longer exists because COVID, was sort of the knife in the heart for that restaurant.
COVID destroyed the restaurant business.
But in the type of restaurants that I worked in, and I carry this into the all the day-to-day aspects of my life, even on my personal side, but even in work today, I was taught that it was so important to know everything about anything. And what that means is, when you are a server, a captain, they call them, in a 3 Michelin star restaurant, and a guest comes in with such high expectations, and they should be, they're paying a lot of money to be there.
Yep.
But they're also probably very excited. They're probably also very intimidated. There could be a very sort of cold, sort of stuck up, nose in the air sort of feel as you walk into these places because they are very formal. Some would say pretentious. The way I was always taught to approach it was to disarm those people immediately, make them feel at comfort, make them feel at ease, and just relax. And once they could fall into that relaxed state and lose track of time and just get lost in the experience, like
Very
that's when the
interesting.
magic starts to happen.
What was one of your tactics to disarm that, I guess, guarded approach to
For
walking
me, I
in?
was trained to just be personable. Just be yourself. Make them feel comfortable. Also, you have to learn how to code switch with the different type of guests that come into the restaurant. Same way we would in our day-to-day conversations with people that want EV chargers. Some of them are very corporate and very professional, and they want to look at everything through a corporate lens. Others are, a little bit more casual. Maybe it's the HR director. She got assigned to, do something for employee benefits, and they have no idea what they're doing. And you need to come to their level and help them, speak the same language that they do. Don't make them feel overwhelmed or intimidated or that they don't know something. So you kind of have to play into whoever the guest, the audience, the clients. You kind of have to adapt to the language that they speak, right?
Very
And
interesting.
respond to the way that they are. So it's a skill in itself to be able to pick that up. But I think my hospitality background, meeting people from all over the world on a night in, night out basis, people that come from, Asia, Europe, speak all sorts of different languages, maybe people that have saved up their entire year to pay for this one meal and it's their anniversary and they're just so excited to be there. And so, you got to see your audience. You have some of the wealthiest people in the world there, and you have some people that are just excited to be there because it's maybe the one chance that they've ever been able to be there. So you get to experience a whole different range of clients, and it's very similar in what we do now. And you got to treat the client that has all the money in the world the exact same way as the client that maybe is just installing one station, and treat them the same level of respect, give them the same level of attention, and that's where the hospitality side comes in, is not making them feel dumb because they don't know what a level 2 charger is or what 208 volt power means. It's helping educate them.
And that's exactly what we're there for, whether it's, on the restaurant business, the construction industry, the financial industry, whatever industry you're in, you're the professional in that industry. People aren't coming to us because they're professionals in our industry. So you make a great point where, if you make somebody feel dumb for not knowing what a level 2 charger is, or how an infrared camera operates, or how you shut a building down and, you're working in their space and you're explaining to them your shutdown procedure. If they don't get it, that's fine. That's why we're there, and it's our job to educate, to coach, and to help them understand exactly what we're doing. And I think, I 100% agree with you, whether it's a, small project of, a couple of panels to do, on my side to do an infrared test, or I'm testing a data center or a commercial tower in Manhattan. I'm going to treat everybody with the same level of respect, the same attention to detail, and, overall provide the same experience to every single person I work with, because at the end of the day, what's important to them is important to them, and what's important to them is important to myself as well.
I think, like, for me, when I first got into this industry, what I realized was nobody knows how to do this, because it's never been done. Whether you're talking to the manufacturers who make the charging stations, whether you're talking to the utilities who are running these programs for funding, or to the client's the one that knows the least amount about anything. And when I realized that, it took me maybe 2-3 months of being in this industry to realize that, wow, like, I don't need to be intimidated about my knowledge in this space, because nobody really knows how to do any of this. It's never been done. Everyone's trying to figure it out as they go. But going back to making clients feel comfortable and the hospitality aspect, the way I was always taught in hospitality and restaurants was that you don't know what the guest is going to ask you. but they might want to know about the dish. They might want to know about the piece of meat, what farm it came from, how it's raised. They might want to know about the wine, the glass, the tablecloth, the color of the carpet. Like, who knows? Like, it could be a million things. But if you knew the answer to everything, when they came in and they asked you a question and you spoke with confidence because you had that knowledge, you could answer that question for them. And through that confidence and knowledge, you build trust. You create this experience for them, and then they end up leaving with this sense of just awe of like, wow, like these people are so good at what they do. They are such professionals. They were able to walk me through every single detail and aspect of my journey, and I just felt like it was I got taken care of. And so I apply that same sort of technique to what we do here in the EV space. It's, whether they want to talk about maintenance or how the charging station software
Right.
works, or maybe they want to talk about the electrical infrastructure or how the utility program works to get funding, whatever it might be. That's, how when you can go in and how do you make the client feel at ease and comfortable? It's for me, it's asking them, well, what do you want to know? What do you not know? What would you like me to help educate and guide you through here? And when you have those answers for them,
Correct.
and you can speak to it without saying, I'm not sure, let me get back to you, and then you sound a little shaky, and
Yeah.
you don't know what you're doing. That's when you lose them. But if you can speak to it at a high confidence level and be knowledgeable at the same time, then you're going to be able to put them at ease and make them feel comfortable along the way throughout the whole process.
100%. And you brought up a great point too, in providing that, I guess, overall pleasant experience for a buyer or somebody sitting in a restaurant, whatever it may be. Asking questions is a huge part of being hospitable. If I sit here and just talk about myself and Lapolis Electric and what we do and the color shoes I'm wearing and the fact that I went golfing last weekend or I'm doing, you're gonna lose people. It's people are gonna either say it out loud depending on their personality or think to themselves, well, this guy in Lapolis Electric is full of himself and, all he cares about is himself and his company. Why am I going to do business with him if he doesn't care about me or to care to ask me questions? And it's extremely important whether you're just developing a relationship with a person or you have a relationship with somebody and you're looking to create that overall pleasant buying experience for them and developing a scope of work. It might be asking, do your lights flicker in your building? Do circuit breakers trip randomly during the day? Or, whatever it may be. Or if you first meet somebody, ask them, what's your dog's name? Do you have children? Do you play sports? Do you like to watch sports? Where's your favorite place to go on vacation? And get to know people, because at the end of the day, people buy from people. People want to deal with personable people and not just like a sales robot.
Yeah.
If they wanted to deal with a telemarketer, they would call a 1-800 number for what we do and get an AI buying experience.
Yeah. What you're talking about is something that, Charlie really prides himself and really the company. He tries to hold us all to this sort of standard. It's not just selling to an end user, it's building client relationships. Like you said, ask when is their birthday, when's their anniversary, do they have a favorite type of wine or whiskey. Taking these subconscious notes, maybe writing them down somewhere if you need to, but creating those memorable connections to the people that you work with, because then they're not just customers at the end of the day, they become friends. Send them a bottle of that Macallan whiskey on their birthday when they told you they love scotch, or
Yep.
whenever it might be. That little personal touch is going to go so much farther, and you're going to build that trust and that confidence with them, and then they're not just a one-time customer. Then they're continuing to come back over and over, and
Yep.
that's exactly the same thing that I always was taught in the restaurant industry. I mean, how many times you go to the same restaurant over and over and over again? I guarantee it's not because the food is that spectacular. It might have been what brought you there, but you probably keep going back and back over and over again because when you go there, they make you feel special. The servers know your name. They welcome you the same way when you walk through the door. They ask how your kids are doing.
100%.
And that's why you keep going back. And it's
Yeah.
no different in what you and I do.
No.
It's exactly the same.
No, it goes back to because at the end of the day, people are people,
Yeah.
and they want to deal with, another human being that simply cares about them.
Yeah.
It's really at the crux of it. It's that simple. It's Do they care about me? Yes or no? No. All right, I'm going to find it. Because call a spade a spade. We're not the only people in New York or the tri-state area or America or the world that offer EV charging solutions or electrical construction,
definitely.
engineered solutions. So, once you really understand that and you could kind of focus on the human aspect of what we do, that's really where this kind of all ties together. And it's at the end of the day, it's a beautiful thing once you can realize that. But listen, Kris, I really enjoyed speaking with you today. And, I think this was a great conversation. We touched on a lot of topics, and I just want to thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
For coming out here. Watch the microphone. Don't take your head off. And I just want to thank everybody for listening to another episode of Beyond the Blueprint with your host, Stephen Marcellino, powered by Lapolis Electric. Thank you all for watching, and have a great day.